What's going on, people? Welcome back to AFTV. It's now time for the Predicted 11 video. I've got Julian. He's joined us on this video with Robbie as well. We're going to run through obviously what we want to see and what we think we're going to see. I mean, we have limited numbers. We all know about the injuries for Arsenal. The upfront firepower is lacking, but we'll start at the back. No one's,
and we've got options at the back.
Yeah,
so we're not limited at the back.
We're not limited at the back, but I said in the forward options. But we're going to start with the goalkeeper. Are you campaigning for Neto to start this game?
No, I'm campaigning for who is going to start this game, which is Raya.
David Raya?
Raya's been excellent this season. You know what I mean?
It's not really much.
Nothing.
Don't have to spend too long on that, but we can also congratulate him on winning. London the football has got best goalkeeper as well.
Deservedly so. Deservedly so. I mean, by the way, those awards, what a sham they were. You know what I mean? Archie Gray winning best young player. It's one of the most ridiculous things I've ever seen. Like a political thing where let's give Tottenham something.
Yeah,
right?
Spread it out.
Obviously should have been Lewis Skelly or Wanyeri. I mean, that was ridiculous. I mean, I know Archie Gray has come in and he's done okay because he's had to play out of position, but so has Lewis Skelly. Yeah. He's played out of position, and not only has he done well, he's keeping out established left backs in that position. Ethan Wanyeri, by the way, I think is the youngest player to score in this tournament, in the Champions League.
And also with Miles, you make a good point, because he's been looked at for England as well. I don't see.
And Archie Gray, I'm sorry, he's done. I feel it for you. You've come in and you've had to fill in at the back, but you got hammered every week, Tottenham. How the hell can he get? That's ridiculous. But anyway, that's my little rant on that.
Yeah. Well, thank you. All right, well, Raya in goal, people. Let's go to right back. I know some people question the overplaying of Timber, saying should we rest him? He's played a lot of minutes. Do you rest him, or do you bring Ben White, or do you keep Timber in there? It's a tough game.
I'd actually bring Ben White in.
Straight into
it's not straight in. He's had a few substitute appearances. Also, from what I understand, they're pretty weak on set pieces, and he was excellent on that. He's a disruptor. He really is. He can stand on the goalkeeper. It's something I think we've missed, and also he's not bad defensively either.
Would you agree with that, Robbie?
It's got to be Urian Timber for me. Listen, Ben White's a great player. Couple of things I'd say, Julian. First of all, I've noticed in this tournament that set pieces is not as effective for us because they don't allow as much as this. So without stepping on the goalkeeper and that, immediately in this tournament, the referees are giving a free kick. And I've even noticed in this tournament that Arsenal have been playing a few short because they fear that the referees just don't allow as much sort of disruption around the keepers as what they do in the Premier League. And secondly, Urian Timber is from here. He's from the Netherlands. He played week in, week out in this league. He played for Ajax. He'll know PSV inside out. He'll know that stadium. That's the type of player who has to start with his experience. For me, it's an absolute must that he starts in this game. If he tires later on, you bring on a Ben White.
I was going to try and combat Robbie, because I was going to partly campaign for Ben White, but he makes a great point.
Listen, it'd be like you got an English player. He's used to the Premier League. He's used to that stadium. He knows what's coming at him. For Ben White, who's just coming back, listen, he's a great player, but definitely for me. And Timber has been solid in defence as well. So
he's faced up against a tricky winger as well from PSV. I think
definitely Timber for me in this. Yeah. And if he tires later on, you get Ben White on.
Okay, so you want to see Timber, you want to see Ben White. You think Arteta's going to stick? I mean, your justification makes sense for him.
I think he will. I think he'll stick with Timber. I would like to see Ben White. I just think Ben White is our number one right back.
Okay, well, the Premier League when we return, he's Man United next, so he might be playing Ben White for saving him for that game. Let's go defensive pairing, Saliba Gabriel.
Yeah, Saliba Gabriel, that's an easy one.
Not really much else to talk on that one. I think they've been phenomenal this season. Left back, Skelly's back.
Yeah, and I think I'll play him. I think it's a bit more solid with Miles Lewis Skelly in there. I think what we've seen with Calafiori is when it's been quick, tricky wingers like against Nottingham Forest, he had a little bit of trouble up against those pacey, tricky wingers, and we know that they've got he might do. You know what I mean? That is his strength. He's quick and he's tricky. So for me, Lewis Skelly in there. Let him start, be very aggressive in his tackling, and then later on you can bring on a Calafiori.
Does that not kill Calafiori a little bit? Because he just, as soon as he goes back,
I don't think so, and I think Calafiori also can be a really good impact player. You can bring him on, he can play further forward if you're chasing a goal. So for me, I'd start Lewis Skelly.
I think if you're looking to actually go out and win the game, Calafiori was when I looked at the Forest game, was probably our best attacking option.
He had the biggest jobs.
And I think our biggest problem at the moment is scoring goals and creating chances. And I think we need to concentrate
Got to keep
on
a
that.
clean sheet.
That's
in
the
this
number
game
one
as well,
question.
though.
Is he going for the win, or is he going to
Yeah,
keep?
I mean, if he's just going out there to get a 0-0 draw and bring him back to Arsenal, then I'd absolutely agree with MLS. But if you actually want to go and create something, which has been the problem over the last few games, and have a chance of scoring a goal, I'd stick Calafiori in for a
I think you're away from home in the first leg. I think first things first, right? Be really solid at the back.
Keep it tight.
And as I said, Calafiori, you know, I mean, up against quick, tricky wingers, you know, he's got done a couple. Remember, he got that really early yellow card against Forest, which then limited his play. So I would definitely start with Lewis Skelly. Of course, as well, it's Kieran Tierney. I think he's done all right when he's coming at the back. We're all forgetting him and just overlooking him. But I think Kieran Tierney's done all right as well. So he's another option as well. But Lewis Skelly for me, I think he hasn't let the team down defensively. You know, all right, you got to send off in that game. But, you know, I'd start with him.
Interesting. Kieran Tierney, I mean,
Kieran Tierney's done all right. You know what I mean? He's done all right. I think he's been all right.
Well, he can put crosses in.
Yeah, well, if you're talking about attacking,
and he's solid
well,
defensively, so he's an option as well.
Could be. Okay, well, you want to see...
I'll go Lewis Skelly.
You want to see Calafiori, you want to see Lewis Skelly. It does depend on how Arteta will approach this game. I think he's going to keep it tight to begin with, and then try and look for the attacking option from midfield and up front. So he probably will go Lewis Skelly. Into midfield, let's do the three as a whole. Is it just a Odegaard? Is it Partey, Rice, Odegaard?
You've got to have Odegaard. You've got to have Rice. It's a toss-up between Partey and Jorginho.
Oh, I mean, Jorginho's
done well.
But he did play. You know, in the last. I know we've had a break since then. We played in the last game.
That was a week ago.
Jorginho's done well, but for me, you've got to go with your strongest midfield, and that to me is Partey, Rice, and Odegaard.
They need to step up,
yeah, I mean, I think Martin Odegaard in particular
massively
has to prove a point that, you know, he's one of the top midfielders in Europe. So he has to step up in this game. Declan Rice, if he steps up, we could have a really good evening as well. So, but you've got to go with your strong, especially in a team that's lacking forward players and lacking creativity. You know, who's more likely to get you a goal, even though he's been off form? Martin Odegaard or Partey or, say, a Jorginho. So for me, you start with those guys. You can bring in a Jorginho later on. That would be for me.
Okay. And you said Jorginho, right? That you'd rather start Jorginho.
I'd have Jorginho.
Rice
and
Odegaard.
I think Partey's been a little bit off it the last few games, and a lot of our defensive deficiencies have been because of him.
Even with that long break that he's had, you still wouldn't start him.
I've just been impressed when Jorginho's coming into the team.
I mean, you'd offer him another extended contract, Jorginho, for another year?
It depends who we can replace him with.
Okay.
Because with some of the names that are being mentioned, then yes, his time's done.
Oh, that's just fair said. Well said. Let's go front three, people. Just do it as a whole. What we say, is it standard Mikel Merino in the 9, Ethan, I don't know Trossard, or you were campaigning for Sterling to step up. Do you allow him to have that opportunity, or do you say?
No, I think I start with Merino. I start with Merino down the middle because you've got to have a focal point. Even though, you know, although in the last couple of games, you know, he hasn't really done much. You know what I mean? Because teams are sat really deep, but I still have him as a focal point. On the left-hand side, Trossard is by far better on the left than he is when he's playing down the middle. He just doesn't do it for me when he's down the middle. But on that left-hand side, he can be very good when he's ready, and he needs to be ready tomorrow. And Ethan Nwaneri on the right-hand side, that would be what I go with. And then you've got that option of Sterling who can cover off both those positions. That maybe if Marino's not firing, he goes down the middle, or, you know, if Nwaneri gets tired, he can go on the right. So that's what I go with.
If he goes, Julian, think about your answer when you say this in your front three, because if he goes Mikel Merino, it feels like Arteta's kind of thinking that he's half going for it. I'd say if you're playing like an Ethan Nwaneri in the 9 and maybe some Sterling on the right and Trossard on the left, then it's more that says to me that he wants to do more counter-attacking football. He's going to keep it tight and try and break instead of having Mikel Merino, because Mikel Merino hasn't really got the pace to break him behind that PSV defence. So what would you go? Would you go with a game plan with a front three where you're looking to counter on PSV at home, or we go with what Robbie's kind of going with, Mikel Merino, use him as a focal point, and just, again, we wanted to dominate possession, build play up. Which angle are you going for?
I think PSV are one of the few teams that are going to allow us to counter.
Right.
So if you look at the way that they've played over the last, this season especially, that they actually have a lot of the possession. They play in a similar way to us. Defensively, they're weak.
Yep.
all their injuries, a bit like our attacking deficiencies. They've got their deficiencies in defence, and we can expose them with a bit of pace. But you do need a focal point, and he only has one option as a focal point, which is Merino. That's it. It's not a case of you can jiggle it around. You know, if you want a focal point, which you think you need, there's only one player there, which is Merino.
Interesting. So you've gone with them. You've gone the same front three as Robbie. I do want to see Ethan in the. It's risky. It is risky. Ethan in the 9, Sterling on the right, and Tross on the left. I like the count. I would want to see Arsenal counter against PSV. I would like to see that. It's a bit risky. It's a bit different, but I think there is pace there. I think you can get at them if you hold out, stay defensive, and get them onto transition. I don't think Arteta's going to go with that. I think it's too much of a change, but I would like to see that personally. In my opinion, I think Mikel Merino offers some, but I think, you know, the surprise factor's gone now for me. But
there is no surprise.
the
one thing I say with the Mikel Merino thing, right? This man's played 3 games and like already, he's done.
No, I'm not.
Listen, like you could have a main striker, right? You could have one game where he scored a couple of goals and then have in the next couple of games he's like teams have sat deep and he's been marked out. I think it's too early. Like away after said people just say, that experiment's done. You don't know yet. He's not really. As I said, the 3 teams he's faced have sat ultra deep. Maybe, you know, with a team that doesn't sit as deep, you know, with a team that really needs to try and win this first game, you might get a bit more joy. At least try it. Like you said, we ain't really got many other options.
His positioning hasn't been in the box. You say he's been as a striker, but for me, he's been playing more midfield.
Yeah,
and he hasn't really been a striker.
He's been arriving in the box, which is exactly what Havertz used to do. Havertz is never right in the box either.
Really happy with Havertz.
That's the way we play. They arrive in the box.
For me, he's coming too deep. So he could be a focal point. What's the point of having a focal point in the middle of the pitch? You want a focal point.
But for
in
me,
attack.
I wouldn't write off that experiment yet. I think I need to see it in a few more games yet before I say it's completely dead. So that's why I want to, there's nothing else.
There's nothing else. There is no option.
Well,
maybe a Calafiori up there. Maybe, he's looked like a guy who's got ability, but can he play? It's a little bit different when you're sort of outside the box and firing off shots in regards to getting in the box and trying to, like what Merino did, getting in there, getting a header away, arriving with that great finish at Leicester. So I'd like to see it again.
It's interesting because you said that, he's now feel like he's coached to arrive late and not be in the box. It feels like when he saw him against Leicester, he kind of just went up front and said, go and be free, and that's when we saw him score them goals. Just go off instinct.
It was the last 20 minutes.
Right,
and that's when it becomes chaotic.
I'm surprised you're writing him off because you said he's an out-and-out striker after that game. You said that Mikel Arteta was telling lies when he said he's not a striker. When the guy said that this is not kind of the first time I've ever played this, you said it was a complete lie. So I'm surprised now that you're now saying that you don't want to see him in the box.
To repeat it again.
No, we haven't got time. But
he could be a striker, but he's not being played in that area. He's a midfielder that's being played.
Yeah, well, we know that.
Midfield.
This is exactly what we all said. We all
enough.
said that at the time, but you said it was a lie, and he's an out-and-out striker, and he's obviously played that.
I said he could be if he was trained to be and then told to be, and he's not. He's not playing in that position.
That sounds a lot different.
Yeah, we'll go round and round in circles in that argument, but that
it's not an argument. He's just not listening to what I'm saying.
People, that is it for the Prince 11 from Robbie, Julian, and myself. What we'd like to see and what we think Arteta's going to go with. Let us know if you agree or disagree, or what you would like to see. Would you like to see a change? A lot of fans have been campaigning for Arteta to experiment. Don't know if this is the right game to do it, but a lot of fans want to see something different. These guys saying don't do it now.
It's not a time to experiment in a game. This game is absolutely huge. This is our season.
Season defining.
Yeah.
Oh, let us know if you agree, and make sure you stay tuned to all the content coming your way in build up to this game. It's PSV versus Arsenal, the first leg of the round of 16. We'll see you again soon. Take care.